don't question a lot of things that were stated or that we read concerning the life of Jesus. But when some things now be instituted in your life and in your mind, you start to grow a couple of questions like, I always had a question about that, but I never said nothing. But those who got more diligent in their studies and wanted to know more about the life of Jesus, and as we read according to the life of Jesus, and we asked certain questions, one or two things happened. Well, I don't know if it happened to a lot of others, but it happened to me. I was shunned. I was talked about. I was even labeled as a non-believer in Jesus because I asked questions. They said, you're not supposed to question God. I was like blown away. I said, what's wrong with seeking wisdom by asking God questions? I thought we're not supposed to doubt, but ask questions that we may learn more. They said, no, what you're asking is blasphemous. I felt ashamed. I really felt as if I was doing a lot of things wrong. So I had to recalculate, if you will, rethink what I was asking. I had to rethink my own belief and understanding of what I was receiving, what I was reading, and what I was being taught. I was just now instituted with the belief that I should just believe and accept everything that's being told to me without question. So the second thing happened. By me doing that, the prophet calls it a person who just have a block, like a block of wood, and can point the way. You being not what you know, but what you're told. There was a story or an instruction that was given to us in a lesson where Lamas or Rabbo Rabo and Jesus had conversation. Now, Rabbo Rabo was one of the masterminds as well, what we call sage or one of our high priests today. And he was repeating some things that was told to him according to more or less what we receive as or known today as the Darwin theory, how man evolved. Jesus told him, if that's the only thing you have to offer, pretty much, as to the basis of your knowledge, then you are not what you know, but simply what you're told. Then you're not a mastermind. If you're just going off of what somebody told you, he took them back and said, let's travel back in the time of man where man knows not. Time never was when man was not.
Praise God. That's the truth. Time never was when man was not.
See, if we came from the bosom of Allah, that seed, as the lessons demonstrate to us, then we know that Allah and man are one. And since we had no beginning, because we're from the infinite, then as spirit man, we have no beginning nor ending. So time is really not relevant to us. We make it relevant on this plane of things made manifest. Why? Because on this plane, things had a beginning, like this flesh, so shall it have an ending. But that which possesses it, that's what it incorporates it for its usage. The spirit has no beginning or ending. None at all. So it is with the lessons that we're now looking at how Jesus is conversating. He learned a lot of things on this plane of things made manifest. He understood the God wisdom, but not the wisdom of man. So in order to understand how man functions on this plane, he wanted to go through the higher halls of learning, which man on his plane seeks to understand his travel in life. How to better present it to them. He had the higher wisdom. They already said it to him. Why ye seek in these halls of men the wisdom of these halls of men. When you have God wisdom, you can shut us down with this understanding you have. But it's too high. See, sometimes we got to learn how to communicate. We can be talking above people, and they just be looking at you like, what are you talking about? That's not what we go through. You can be so secluded in your learning and your spiritual understanding, and that seclusion that you're learning can be so high that the average person that you're talking to on the simplicities of spirituality will miss everything. It's simple to you, but to them it's high wisdom. But the simplicities of life are the things that we miss, that is of higher learning, higher wisdom, higher spirituality, because we make things complicated. We like to experiment with the wisdom. So when somebody comes speaking it to us, we don't understand it because we're blocked and blocked with so many beliefs that have been incorporated in our life. And the beliefs have been fortified with cultural developments, civilized developments, social developments. All these illusions to solidify their belief system. Now think about it. In the scriptures, we don't get to Jesus from 12 until he's 33 or 30. Here, it says, when Jesus was at the home of Elohim and Salome, who 5 and 25 years before had taught his mother, who was his mother? Mary, in their sacred school. Now, wait a minute. This is 25 years ago. So that means if it was 25 years ago when Jesus was a baby, that means at this time when it was going on and he came and talked to them, he was 25 years old. I didn't get that in the scriptures. That part was missed. So what was going on? Because that whole time, we get nothing of Jesus. Why? See, you couldn't ask that question when you amongst them. See, you get labeled. I ask those questions because I know how to count a little bit. Just a little. You know, I was one of them, what they called back in slavery days, one of them intelligent niggas. That's what they called us back then, them intelligent niggas. Oh, you being smart with me, boy? You saying 2 + 2 is 4? I didn't say floor. I said 4. You lipping me? See, you couldn't challenge the slave master's intellectual abilities, no matter how minute they were. You couldn't do that. You get hung for showing any signs of intelligence, any God wisdom. You couldn't even speak on the scriptures. See, we had an innate ability to do that. But because they just switched everything around, they wanted us to believe what they want us to believe in order to serve their better purpose. It's the same curriculum going on. Anytime you get amongst them and you ask intelligent questions, in order to receive a favorable reply, as the prophet asks us to do, they don't give it to you, they label you. Then they want to segregate you, ostracize you, dumb you down, keep your influence from being influential amongst those who really don't know, who are seeking to know. So, what do we do about that?
What do we do? Yeah.
We started sacred schools. Schools of learning outside of those who kept repressing us from learning or expressing that learning. And then we started inviting those who wanted to learn. And we also got some infiltrators who came amongst us to find out where that learning was going on and what we were learning. And they went back and reported it. Same thing going on today. The same curriculums. Jesus didn't care, as we started to see along the way. He openly taught the people. Or did he? When he got in certain areas and environments, certain people were present, he started speaking in parables. Why? Why not just speak plainly to us? One of the disciples asked. According to the language I'm getting out of it, if you get into the mood of Jesus, he like bombed him out. Have you not been with me so long and still don't understand? Jesus, what is wrong with you? You ain't comprehending nothing. I speak this way to you so you can comprehend what I'm saying and for them to stay confused. You might as well say, you idiot. You don't need to be amongst us. That's the kind of direction it was going in. Of course, we can imagine the day without foul mouths, how the language would have been coming out. I dare not be saying that, you know. My goodness. See, we've been presented with the wrong image and character of Jesus. See, you can't follow somebody who you can't reach. I can't reach God, man. It's hard for me to obtain and act on these virtues constantly. It's obtainable. It's not for me. I'm imperfect. The prophet teaches us perfected man must go through all the ways of life. If you're already perfect, then that means the virtues that he's asking us of can be obtained and practiced. Some of us still say that we're not perfect. You know, I think we still being taught wrong. To believe wrong. To accept what the prophet has given us wrong. These divine lessons are to be practiced. They are called instructions. And I keep saying this. There's a step-by-step procedure to it. That's why they're called instructions. When you come to school, you're given instructions. They're either on the board or the teacher will give them to you. This is what sets the tone for the day. This is what sets the tone for your curriculum, the lessons you're getting ready to learn. Then you're giving homework to go home with those lessons or those instructions to the further embed in your mind of this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how you're supposed to be acting. This is what you're supposed to be learning. Divine instructions from the holy prophet. Now, the only way you ain't going to follow these instructions is that you don't believe he's a holy prophet. But here's a warning. These lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927. Listen. These readers, dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those who love Jesus. Now, if you don't love Jesus, you shouldn't even be touching this book. It should burn in your hand. How about that? Because see, now what you're telling me is you really not looking to learn about Jesus. I done read a whole lot of stuff about Jesus. And all of them were just confined to the holy book, to the good news, as we say. See, because I love Jesus. So sometimes we try to get all we can at our disposal on the one we love. Women, sisters, you love that man. You love the way he smells. So you try to get colognes that's to the liking of what you smelt on him. You try to get clothes for him that looks the way that it fits on him when you see him. Drawers, t-shirts, socks, glasses, all types of jewelry if it may be. This is what we do for the ones we love. Listen, you fix the meals the way he like it. If I'm lying, please tell me something. We do the things we love for that person because we don't want to offend that person. We want to get to know everything to embrace that person we love. Now, come on. You say you love Jesus? How you going to stop somebody from learning more about Jesus and teaching on Jesus? The way God revealed Jesus to them from what they learned outside of the box that you gave them. You're going to keep them in that box, they'll never be resurrected. I don't think you heard me. I don't think that was clear. They will never be resurrected if you keep them in that box. These are some of the things that was taught when he was a babe. He was a babe. We don't learn stuff like that. What we learn? ABCs, 1, 2, 3. You know, we get our Googles and Gagas on. We happy if the child even say mama, dad. Man, look, that sends us to the rocket, the moon, and back. Let alone saying God, prophet. We have a mission. We don't give them all that. We give them Infamil and Similac. Woo! What's in it? We ain't gonna read them instructions. We don't read instructions. So we don't even implement that in the life of the child as an infant. Instructions. First instructions we get them. When you gonna say daddy, daddy? Say daddy. No, say mama. What if they surprise both of y'all and say God? Allah. Sheesh. We got a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
We got a long way to go. See, verse 3 says, and there was joy when met these three. When last the son of Mary saw these sacred groves, he was a babe. See, mama was getting the instructions. Man, so many of us are rebellious with instructions to pass on to our children. Why is so much mayhem out here? Why are so many parents scared of the child? A lot of it's from guilt. A lot of it's from self-guilt as a parent. Some of us didn't get the right instructions, so we're reaping what we sowed. That's all we know. And it's not our fault as such. That's all we know. I did the best I could with what I had. I don't blame you for that. Okay, so now it's time for us to learn more so we can succor our children, our neighborhoods, because this is what's going on right now. We can't succor our neighborhoods and our children with what we had. See, we got to have something different to do that with. Because if we don't, the same conclusion is going to happen. You can't look for a better result when you have no further knowledge to combat the old with. It's not going to happen. They call that insanity. What's that definition, Mo? An insane person. Man, you're insane. You keep trying to do something.
There you go.
And you're doing it over and over, looking for better results, and ain't got nothing different to offer with it. You insane. And you think somebody embarrassing you, your pride in the way now. No. It was joy. This man went out and did some things. He said, and now a man grown strong by buffering of every kind, a teacher who has stirred the multitudes in many lands. You know how many brothers I've seen and come from various institutions? Now, they normally say that these institutions, oh, excuse me, proper language, correctional facilities. These correctional facilities. Okay, time out. What are you correcting? You took all the programs out of the institutions. What are you correcting? You now, right now, are in a program, in the process of just housing people. What are you correcting? You know, I want to have a sit down with one of them politicians or one of those individuals who are investing in the prison system or the correctional facilities. I want to ask that question. I got quite a few more questions, but that's just one of them to open the door. Get the ball rolling. What are you correcting? Why do you call them correctional facilities? What are you correcting? Now, if your bylaws don't fall in the code, which you can explain to me, that's being instituted in the correctional facilities, then you need to do an amendment. Or did you do an amendment? You keeping the title out front as an illusion for what you're actually doing without people in there. Can you still get a GED in a correctional facility? What about those who are in a correctional facility, don't have means of financing themselves? Could they still reach out and get a master's degree with the time that they got in there? Are they allowed the type of books that they need to study for that curriculum to advance themselves? Correctional, what are you correcting? You got drug programs. So everybody in there on drugs? You got NA classes? No, you got drug classes. I guess that falls under that too. What about people who love money? I guess that falls under that too. That's an addiction. You look at everything as an addiction. You're addicted to going out raping people. Y'all got classes for people like Trump? Because he addicted to touching booties. That's what it said. The man admitted it. When we admit something, that gives them a 3-point reduction.
Well, the truth of the matter is, that's how he lost his position as beauty queen director. You know, he owned that. They took it from him because of the accusations.
Well, that may be so. As a president, you know, that don't set a good moral tone. But those of less desirables, as they claim us to be, right, as a people, you give them a 3-point reduction for acceptance of responsibility. Them of their kind who sets the laws for that to happen, right, it don't apply to them. They become higher officials in the capacities of life. That's a promotion for them when they admit it openly. When they don't admit it openly, that's when they get persecuted. And the people that they did it to got to persecute them. Because those over top who supposed to do it are pressured by the people underneath who it happened to as victims to pressure them to do it. Buffering of every kind. Some of us as followers of Jesus don't even want the buffering in the house. Man, we went crazy during this pandemic on this lockdown with them children in there. How many lessons of Jesus, man, who we love, did we give to them? Now, I'm not saying that you have to be some type of fanatic. What I am saying, don't be busting out your mouth, you love Jesus, and you doing nothing in the way of loving him. You loving your man. You loving your woman. You loving your car. You loving your shoes. You loving your shirt. You loving your hairdo. You're loving your lips. You're loving your eyes. You're loving your feet. And you're loving your nails. You're loving that money. And you're loving the malls. You're loving the food restaurants. And you loving that lobster. You're loving them crabs. And you loving them shrimps. So don't sit here and tell me you're loving Jesus when Jesus get 2% of your life and everything else get 98 of that love. Please don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. This is Sunday school. Out from which comes the guiders of the nation. You can't guide nobody, and we sitting here talking about love because love is Allah. Allah is love. And nothing in way of that is resemblance in your walk. You know, if I didn't love Allah, that means I didn't love myself, so I didn't love my people. You know how right now, man, I would be out there as some type of, what you call them guys, man, they just run rampant. Come on.
A fool.
Hey, you're a fool too. Yeah. You just want to kill everybody. Every time you see you call yourself a hero.
Yeah.
That's what they call themselves, a hero. I was avenging this victim. But under the law, they call them vigilantes. See how the different perceptions can give you a different title? You think you're doing a heroic act, hurling a victim. But under the law, they say you're a vigilante. You can't be running around here and not telling us what happened. We're supposed to get involved and save the day. That is our law. Not you as a citizen. You can't make a citizen's arrest unless you get the police involved. You can't stop a crime unless you get the police involved. You can't persecute a person unless the police is involved. Woo! Somebody have just turned themselves into the Lord of the plane of things made manifest. Because that is who you have to answer up to. So now, you'll forget in the questionnaire on page 1 all the answers. See, when you run it like that, you'll forget who made you. You think the government made you and provided you with all the sustenance that you need. House, home, car, the ability to breathe, ability to drink water. It's all because of them that you're able to enjoy the freedoms of life. You would think that they were the father of the universe. They make spaceships and all these things that go out into space. They got space shuttles and hover stations all out there in the universe that they got people living on. See, these are the things that they will combat you with. To say there's no such thing of what you can't see, only what you see, thus making us the God, the Father of the universe. You don't know what's out there. We do. We have explored it. This God of the universe that you're looking for, he wasn't there. So how you feel about that? You know, in a conversation with them beating on you like that, how you defend yourself? See, those who worry or worry in faith, they couldn't stand tall in the midst of that. Then they ask you, can you see them? Now you already know the answer is no. They won't go further. They'll beat you from there. Well, how you know he exists? Because the nearest place I can meet him is in the heart. And when you look at them like that, you say it, they start seeing something different. A rebellious person. Oh, we got one that haven't conformed. We really need him in one of our correctional facilities. Yeah. The unconformed one, he need to be in one of our correctional facilities. Boy, if I had 1 hour with you. See, that's a correctional facility. I can turn your life around. I make you right. You're obedient by then. So many of our people have vanished in those correctional facilities, or when they got to even the start of the correctional facilities, some of those mysterious hangings and deaths that's transpired in some of those bullpens and things at some of these police stations. It was mysterious. We don't know how it happened. Maybe they committed suicide in there, but they never had suicide tendencies until that happened. Some of that stuff, man, has still been unanswered. They'll have you believe that they're a prophet because they can prophesize of what's going to happen to you next. Why? Because they have control over your life. They're the God. So you dare not say, who is the prophet? Who is Noble Drew Ali? None of that. But we all know he is Allah's prophet. And those of us who know and love Jesus understand that because we can stand on it. Why? Because we do some research. We follow some instructions. And we know by the footprints that was clearly cut and left for us that the prophet went that way. See? We know by certain things that Jesus did, he went that way. He toured India, Egypt, and Africa. We know he went that way. We know he was amongst the Gentiles. We want to know some specifics now, so we got to dig a little deeper. We know he went through Europe. So then when we get to digging, the question come up. What is a prophet? Now, sometimes we get these things given to us, but the way that they're given to us, it really is not satisfying because it's too general. What was given to me was that a prophet is one who prophesies. My mother was a prophet then. My father was a prophet, a couple of my teachers are prophets. You know, some of them even said to some of us, when we were younger, you ain't gonna grow up to be nothing.
What does the word prophesize mean?
Well, again, what was taught is to predict the future. Predict what's going to happen to you or all others in the future.
So, there is a possibility. If your actions are not right, then mama and daddy can be a prophet at that time.
Well, that is if you believe in that definition of what was given to you as a prophet. Just like all the rest of the curriculums and instructions that was given. If you believe that to be so and don't dig no more, then that what it will be, as I was saying. So my mama and my papa, my father and my mother and some of my teachers were prophets. If that be the case, yeah, well, I'm a prophet. I prophesize about people all the time. And it happened. You know, some of our serial killers were prophets too. If that's the case, because they predicted when I follow that woman, she gonna die. She gonna disappear. And she disappeared. So it leaves it with such a general understanding, if that's what you believe. I'm saying to you, if your beliefs are based on some of those things that's so general, test your belief. Challenge your belief. That's what I'm saying. Challenge your belief.
Because belief is what?
Well, man, perhaps believe is true. That's an opinion. You have an opinion of something. You got to move it to faith. So when you put it to the test, you'll know it's true. You just won't be acting off of an opinion that can be contradicted. The lesson says a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. Now that's something totally different. Now we're getting down to something. That ain't as general as you would like for it to be. That's a lot right there going on. Very specific. So, in the Constitution and bylaws, it says because Allah is love. Now, if Allah is love and the prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh, then he's the embodiment of love present on this plane of things made manifest. You're not going to get nothing outside of that. Everything that they do is out of love. Mothers, it's everything. Now, I want you to really ask yourself this question. Is everything that you do for your child out of love? I'm gonna let that simmer a little bit. Now we put them steaks in that bag with all the good seasonings. We let it saute a little bit, simmer a little bit, infuse a little bit. I'm gonna let that simmer. Everything that you do for your child out of love, not one selfish moment. Everything. The higher self, the mother of virtues, the harmonies of life, and breeds. Is everything you breed justice, mercy, love, and right? Let that simmer a little bit too. Because see, now we're getting to something. That's not as general. It's real specific. Very, very specific. Now I'm going to stop right there. Because see, that in itself is enough for us to grasp and hold on to. You really got to ask yourself them questions. Challenge your belief. See if we can walk the same path as Jesus walked. See, he said, in every way of life, I would walk. Now, wait a minute. Because see, from what I was just saying, that could be general too. So what you saying, that Jesus tried some drugs? Jesus smoked a little weed? Well, I want to walk like Jesus walked every walk of life. I want to try me a little heroin. See how I feel to get my nod on. Because I be seeing them out there, you never hit the ground, Joe. You been an idiot. I want to try me some weed, or some wine. You know, really, really get down in it to the last of that bottle. Oh, didn't it say Jesus made some wine out of water? I just read to you that these lessons are not to be misused. You trying to take the lessons and justify activity that your lower self want to indulge in. Now, come on, be for real. I don't need to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day to find out how I feel to have cancer. But I can go visit cancer patients, talk to them, and with empathy, feel what they feel. And be able to express that to others on a more high tone that it may cause a lot or some to change their ways. So let's not be foolish. Let's move in wisdom. Chief, you want to come up?
Yeah, for a minute.
I would now turn today's Sunday school over to our divine minister on this location in Grand Sheep, our COOLEY-EL.
Islam. Islamism. And I always say Islamism because the Islam makes us understand that it is a way of life. We are practicing this all the time. Even when we're in our low, we should be thinking Islamism. That'll make us jump away. I give praise to Allah because Allah is the great God of the universe. And now that I understand that Allah is within, I give him great praise because now I know that I'm made in his image and after his likeness. And I give honors to everything the chair gave honors to because I have a lot of honor in him. I know he gave the right honors to the right people because he knows to withhold honor is both mean and unjust. The prayer. I've been thinking about this. Why do we say the prayer? We say the prayer to protect ourselves. That prayer is like a shield. It is a reminder. And we have to remember this. It is a reminder. So when we come to Sunday school, we come to Sunday school with the reminder that we're going to say this holy and divine prayer. It tells us who Allah is, what he created. It says Allah is the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Now, that amen is giving honors to ancient Emital, who was a pharaoh in Egypt. And he was a great and intelligent man. If we follow the prayer and make it a part of heart and mind, then we'll know that we're made in the image and after the likeness of Allah. See, because a lot of times we go to churches, synagogues, and we let the priest, rabbi, brother, father tell us what God is saying to us. We very seldom pick up the book and take time out and sit down and let me see if this is what the great God Allah has given me the understanding to do or be. See, because he gave each of us a gift of the understanding. Each of us. So in taking in our understanding, our direction may be different. You see, because John and Jesus, they were family. They were both protected. They both went to the same places, but they received what? Different lessons. because they had different meanings. So when Allah teaches us, he sent us a prophet. And he sent us a prophet in the image of us. And the holy prophet, Noble Drew. And the prophet is a prophet because the prophet predicated these times was coming. Our prophet was before time. That's why he's right on time if the people would only wake up. He told us about the electrified age. Isn't we now hitting a button and going around the world? We can hit one button and go around the world. Electrified age. You see? So when we say the prayer, we got to remember it is our protection. Who made you? People say, well, I thought God created me. God created you in a loving thought. He made you from the deepest, most points of the earth. He made you from the earth, the darkest clear of the earth. That's why you have to read the book. Also, our prophet told us, don't throw away your Bibles. Listen to that TV and keep your radio. You know why? Because I'm going to make them tell the truth on this here, because their time is like, it's been 50 years. He said it's going to be 50 years for we, the Asiatics and the Moorish American Muslims, going to realize what he has come and done. Praise Allah that some of us were chosen, because I'm a firm believer, many are called, but few are chosen. And if you are the chosen one, then you have to study to make sure that you get the people to what? The correct information how to become a chosen. Because everybody ain't chosen. Some people can go in the church and just don't like it, because believe this or not, we have two selves. We have a higher self and a lower self. And some have been acting out the lower self that they have placed not only their belief, but their faith in that lower self. They won't give it a chance. I'm talking about that higher self. They won't give it a chance. So when the prophet made us in the flesh, he recognized that the things he put in us, we're going to have to deal with it. That's why I say man is strangely mixed. And what is he strangely mixed with? The two selves, high and low. And in thought, we come to the point where do I do this or do I do that? But the first thing we have to learn is we have to learn to love. Because in the book, when the more open up, it says, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. We know that Allah is love. If we learn to know ourselves, then we'll learn to what? Love ourselves. A lot of times we don't love ourselves. That's why we do and say the things we do. Who is Allah? The questionnaire tells that Allah is the Father of the universe. Once again, he is the Father of the universe. You have to start to believe this, and in your actions, because you have exercised your five senses. You hear, you see, you touch, you smell. You'll find out that he is the Father of the universe. Because what? Time never was when man was not. And if it was a time when man began, it's a time when he go in. But we know that spirit man cannot die. And people say, well, why do you say that? Because if Allah is in the heart and soul of man, he can't what? He can't die. Man has to know this. Because belief is only what you think perhaps is true. But like the chairman said, if you just stand there, I believe it, and don't research it, and don't put it through the test, then you'll never know. See, resurrection don't have to come after the body has been disintegrated. Resurrection can come now. The prophet came to resurrect us into a new order. Nationality is the order of the day. But before you can get to nationality, he said, I got to clean them up. And the first thing I have to do, I have to give them their spirituality back, because we're people who lost our spirituality. And we were trained in God we trust, not even the Bible. In the God we trust, them little pennies we got for picking cotton. You see, we take it right back to the man. See, I always go back to the time when the brothers and sisters built the whole city without the assistance of the stranger. What they do? They wasn't getting none of them in God we trust as mean them dollar bills. They begin to kill, and then they blew the city up. It has never been the same. They blew it up because the brothers and sisters had buses, cabs. They bought homes. They built them a city. It can be done. But we must first believe in each other. The European has infected us so bad with these evil thoughts that we hate each other. Something else the chairman said I want to speak on. Provocateurs. Anytime something is going good with us, they try to send someone in. I don't care what it is. Listen, Brother Farrakhan, is he not a little quieter? See, you know why he's a little quieter? Because when you check him out, he's sick. He tries to stay up front, but he don't want to die by the book. He want to abide by the grace of God. So he don't do the things that he used to do. You see, tell the truth. He gives it another way. But I understand, because the prophet told us what? Speaking in an intelligent tone and you will get a favorable reply. But they don't want us to do or to understand that within is God, and the words of your mouth are the thoughts of your heart. They don't want you to know that you're made in his image, you're his daughter, you're his son. Because in the Bible, I think it's what, John 3:16? He said, I'm not God, I'm just your brother come to what? Show you the way. They want us to think that Jesus is God. Jesus was not God. Jesus was a prophet. That's why when we get up here, we say we give honor to all true and divine prophets. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Noble Drew Ali, etc. And I use the etc. because one day might be the prophet. Whoever Allah choose to bring the truth and that love, that's who we should follow, if it's right. Can we see him? Any of y'all ever seen God? Yes, you have. See, that's another trick. The prophets say no. But if you were made in his image and after his likeness, then you tell me you ain't never seen God. Or maybe you're saying this. Being that man in the physical form is so low that you don't see. That you don't see. See, because if you made in his image and after his likeness, then when you look into the face of man, you look into the face of who? Allah. Low or high. He's a creation that went astray. Because remember now, we talking about Lucifer. He was the fire. He was able to induce others, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast to fall with him on the plane of soul, because the vibration moved just a little slower, and he knew that they wasn't quick as that. And they began to teach men new things. things men and women do think. You see. But the prophet tells us that those things are not the devil coming up out of the ground. The devil is in it, you and I. We have to learn that when we're being our Lord's self, we let Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast out. We control them. So no, you probably haven't seen the law because you haven't seen too many people that are upright, independent, and fearless. But I think you can see a line, man, if you look a little deeper, but we deal from the surface. We deal from the surface, believe it or not, we deal from the surface. We don't go in deep because we don't even go in deep into ourselves. Because sometimes we don't like what we see. You ever seen something say, I don't like it? So if you don't like it, you don't work on it. That's why the prophet said these instructions are to better you. These instructions are to change the way you think. Because when you're thinking, you're beginning to understand. And understanding is the rock on which man builds himself. That's why it's so important that we understand that this here is the beginning toward the Quran. Where is the nearest place to meet him? In the heart. And we ain't talking about the pump. The heart of man is in the soul of man, where the deepest part of man is at the spirit. That's the soul of man. That's what creates these good thoughts, these bad thoughts. See, most of the time, when you're on the higher self, you're doing the best you can. But when you try to mix them, it don't work. You find yourself doing more of the lower stuff. So that's why you have to go in to a place. You see what it said in the lessons? Jesus went to the city of the sun in Heliopolis to ask that he may become a student in the rabbinate. And they told him, oh, Rabbani, you have the wisdom of the gods. Why do you want to come here? And he informed them that I need to be here so I can learn the wisdom of man so that I can do what? Learn to succor him. Because if he don't know man, he can't succor man. Why? Because he had already been taught the divine lessons. Then in the next lesson, he said, I want to read the Vistas. This is in Lamas. The Vistas, the Vedas, the lessons of Wama, and the Manic Law. To understand that all of these plays a part because all of these people. But what I say is, when you read them with the thought of uplifting, not using. Read them with the thought of uplifting, because I'm telling you, 50 years has gone and we haven't yet understood that without us as one, because that's what unity means. That's what unity means, brother to brother, one. Because if you're united, you won. It don't matter where you at or what city you in. We should be able to telepathically recognize what we're trying to do. You know, I talk about Black Lives Matter. There's nowhere in the world you're going to tell me now Black Lives Matter. So that tells me before that you thought you didn't matter. Black lives has always mattered because there is no black people. There's no such thing as the word black. Black, according to science, means death. And we're still propagating these misnamers. There's no Negro, colored folk, black people. And what's happening, we're acting like Ethiopians because we stay divided. Because that's what Ethiopia means. Divided, the son and the father divided the land. The son wanted once again to be the king, see. We have to look at these lessons and make them relevant to today. Who is Noble Drew Ali? And listen to what it says. He is Allah's prophet. He is Allah's prophet. So what that tells me, that Allah prepared him, sent him on a mission. And the mission was to uplift the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation here in North America. And the work don't stop here, because guess what? Once we understand and become one, guess what we got to do? We got to take some trips and tell the truth to those brothers and sisters over there in their mighty country, where the Garden of Eden at. They don't run nothing. They living in the street and it's their land and their the European taking it over. Calling themselves what? Afrikaners? What is an Afrikaners? You know what they say it is? A European born on the continent of Africa and has made it homestead, he becomes an Afrikaner. So what he is an African Caucasian. Check it out. What is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the human flesh. Did you hear that? The prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. Manifested in the flesh. Praying a lot. So once again, we're seeing that Allah sent us someone we can see. Because we need to see our God. We need to see our God. If you don't, you need to see your God. That's why everybody look up at the preacher. If you look at the televangelist, because I'm reading a book called From Hebrew to Negro now, the man say, you know what they do? They put it all on TV because most people are going to sit there with the Bible open, they turn the page. Go to John 4:14 and he said, blah. They come right back out and tell it to you and I. They didn't have understanding because they never turned the page. You watching them as they move the camera, never turn the page. Because we rather follow than to lead. Just think if you woke up one day and you say, every day I'm going to read a verse of the Holy Quran or the Bible or any other book, and I'm going to compare and see. The prophet brought it to a language that we can better understand. This is simple. What is the duties of a prophet? That's simple. What is the duties of a prophet? It says, to save nations from the wrath of Allah. To save nations from the wrath of Allah. And how does he do that? Through you and I. Through you and I. Every time we open our mouths, we should be saying, praise Allah. We should be telling the truth. When someone, hey, black brother, I tell, no. Brother man, it's nothing black about me. I'm a Moorish American model. I just St. Quintus. I'm a two nationality. That's why these flags here. This is a real flag. In America, you do not put a standard up and put it out for the world to see if it hasn't been what? Consummated. That's who I am. On my Social Security card, I got Ronald COOLEY-EL. We have to start invading these places where they keep trying to take our spirit and keep us in the Negro, the black, the colored spirit. Because sometimes most people feel, what can a nigger do? I'm just a nigger. Because they are afraid to try something different. We are afraid to try something different. Then when we do try something different, I've never seen
where people say they believe and they stay in something 20 years, then they see something else, they go to that. That tells me you never believed. So your faith was weak. You have to build up your faith. I'm 67 years old. And I've been doing this to the best of my ability since it was brought to my attention. Because what caught my attention is nationality, because I already never really did the church. My father was a Catholic deacon. I never did the church because I listened to the things they say. But when I went inside, and we call it the crypts of darkness prison, I found the light. I found the prophet. The nationality gave me the key. And when I began to study and find out, there's nothing you can find to say that he ain't true. He tells us it takes finance to uplift the nation. Every time you turn around, we want the man to give us a check. This man took $2 trillion and we got our people run around here. They gave me $1,200. $1,200. What is $1,200 compared to your nationality, to you owning business? That $1,200 half the time can't pay some of them's rent. You should be asking them. I leave that on the wall till it got gray. It's yellow. You know what that's talking about? Emancipation and giving us our due. He gave the Chinese $2,000 apiece for winning the First World War I when they put them into the camps. They gave each one of them $2,000. You know what they gave us for reparation? We're sorry. You are sorry and you're still doing the same thing. That's why Allah sent us a prophet. He heard us crying. He felt our spirits. But when we teach this thing, we got to teach this thing in order. Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Not Green Bay, not COOLEY-EL, and no one else. The founder is the Prophet Noble Ali. And he founded this organization for the uplifting of fallen humanity. And he heard what I said, for the uplifting of fallen humanity. Our first duty is to teach our brothers and sisters that they may teach their little ones to learn to love instead of hate. But we don't teach hate. We teach everyone the greatest thing that anybody can teach. We're teaching you to love instead of hate. You know why? Because if you love your fellow man, if you only recognize and check it out, it ain't but one, you. You lost yours through a sickness called, what they call it, when you lose your skin. Say it again?
Melon.
You lost the melon, but they call it
Pigmentation.
child of the night, what they call them. They lost their pigmentation, but they got a name for it.
Albinos.
Albinos, and then what's caused is another name. Let's just use albinos, but they they lost theirs, and they lost the melon. So this is what created the European. Now, when they were roped in,
Mulattoes.
no, it's a disease you can get today. It turns you, it takes your skin. I used to remember right off the bat. But they lost their hue. And when they roped them in around the Caucasus Mountains, they had to find a new way because they were used to the warm air. When they show Fred Flintstone, you look at it as that cartoon. But when you get in the study, there ain't no cartoon. They had to dig in and get rid of the beasts to make homes. They lived in the darkness of the cave. It was really, they didn't call them cavemen. These were cave dwellers. Now in the Bible, they tell you Moses went and got them on a sunny day. That's why they changed the day of Sabbath. The day of Sabbath ain't really Sunday, but they changed it. And I know the brother Robert have told you about the Nissan Council, the Council of Bishops and the Pope. The church is powerful. And every 10 years they come out with a revised version because they know, can you find yourself in the Bible?
Yes.
Yes, you can. You ever heard of the word Ruth? And who was Ruth?
Boaz wife.
But who was Ruth?
Ruth was Moabitess.
Praise God. Ruth was a Moabitess. There you go. That's you. See, when they was having the famine, they had to come through Moab to try to find a place to plant, to eat. And there you go. You can find yourself. You just got to know who you are. We are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. And as we continued to grow, we became the Moors. We fought as one. Because the European came over there and he tricked it. You heard the Zulu? That's why the king of the Zulu nation said I would never meet with them and they would never cross the 3630 because every time they come into a land, they destroy. And he never went and dealt with them Europeans. But as soon as he died, they let him back in. What happened? They demolished him. You don't even hear the word Zulu no more. One of the greatest Muslim nations that ever was. They demolished him. They demolished him and they can't get back, just like over here. When we get $1 in God we trust, we don't want to go and live next door to our brother. We want to go live on the hill with Frank Sinatra, who fakes that he's a Jew. I told a story last night about when Sammy Davis Jr. said he was a Jew. I laughed because I didn't know no better. But when I started studying, he was right. He is the Jew. The man knew something. He said it on national TV. So we have to learn to love instead of hate. We have to desire to find out who I am, what I am, and is it true that Allah created me? Once you put this together, you're going to change your whole thought. Because I know you tired of sitting in line and they ask the Europeans, say, what's your nationality? Oh, I'm German, Jew, blah, do. What's yours? I'm black. You see, they know that we know. They changed the forms, didn't they? Other what? Moorish American Muslim. What is that? Moorish American Muslim. That's my nationality. Because we're going to have to get them marks taken off us because we got so many people propagating. It hurted me when I heard Black Lives Matter. The prophet said that we are the greatest nation that ever was. The Moors are upright, independent, and fearless. And when we don't get back there, we're going to find ourselves what? Back in chains. And it's going to be your own kind. So you have to be ready. That's why you have to prepare yourself to know who you are. Because I know we all see it on TV because we wasn't there when they had to carry the papers. You couldn't go from the south to the north without a note from the governor or your owner. Uncle Ben told me to go this here. See? So we have to learn that our nationality cards are important. Because when people recognize you know who you are, they very seldom treat you any other way than with respect. So I teach that What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 1913 AD. What was going on in 1913 AD? It was becoming an election year. The people down south had lost their spirituality and all of these things. Then the next question tell you, say, where was it founded? Newark, New Jersey. Ask yourself, well, why New Jersey? You know why New Jersey? It was wide open. The governor in New Jersey, the prophet that met him, they had talked. He used the Moors to make him president. And when he became president, he gave the flag. See, conditions make conditions. And when we teach, we have to teach according to the catechism, because if we teach what year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded 1913 AD, then we're going to go on to tell you after 1913, 1925, 1928, it became the Moorish Science Temple of America because we became incorporated in America so that we can fly our lovely standard. We the only one that now everybody's getting flagged. See, remember the Nation of Islam, they were green, they flew the revolution flag, red, green, and black. You see? So today, this flag is around the UN, but we have yet to get strong enough to step up to the UN and ask for our seat. We're not black folks. You know, the prophet said, what? You have a shade. What's the color of your skin? Olive. That's a shade. The European created color that keep your spirit down. Every time somebody asks you a question, you say, I'm black. I know something inside of you probably say, well, this man just said that he was Italian. I say, I'm black. Who am I? They get us to work so hard. They get us to do everything else but study ourselves and who we are. Because they don't want us to know. Why do you think that Jew? After that Holocaust, that Jew got everything, food, clothes, stores, everything. Because they talk about their Holocaust. What about those of us who came through the third passage? Over 60 million of us died on them ships. Nobody talks about that because it's not that important. But believe me, if we're looking at our environment today, nationality is important. But to get one to understand that he's not Negro, black, and color, we got to try to interject that spirituality in him. See, because when a man or a woman take hold of something because they truly have a belief in it, they want to find out if it's true, they got to wear the badge. You got to put on that badge, and if you find that that badge don't fit you, you got the right to walk away. But I guarantee you, if you put that badge on, you're going to love that badge because everywhere you go, when somebody hear you ask you, who are you? And you say, I'm Ronald COOLEY-EL. Well, what's your nationality? Moorish. Oh, I thought you can't think for me. I'm informing you who I am. Because they so used to you coming up there and they ask you who you are. You say, I'm Shirley MacLaine and I'm black. I'm James McDougal, and I'm a nigger. A Negro. I'm Annie Mae Johnson, and I'm colored. They know you're ignorant. They know you don't know. It makes their heart feel good because they know you're still asleep. Wait, we got to wake up. We got to wake up and open up our eyes, and not only put our minds in the books, but we got to read and study and we got to talk to people. Because there's people out there that know, these historians know, but they're so caught up on God we trust. The stuff that they should put in there, they don't put in there. I don't care about no African mass. You tell me about what a tribe that made that African mass and what did they call themselves. Don't tell me about a weaving of a basket. Tell me who weaved the basket, where they weaved it, and what did they call themselves. In order to make some money to publish their book, they won't let them do certain things. That's why your books got to go down there on, what's that first, a knock capital and H, so they can go through it. Roots. The man told them people that he was going to give them so much if they gave him. If people sit down there and gave the man the truth. They said he was so hurt when the book come out. You ain't have a line there but one time, and none of the stuff that they told him was put in the book, and he ain't give him that dime. You see? You see, when we think like the European, we deceive each other. Then they call Roots fact fiction. What is fact fiction? It's either fiction or it's fact. Nobody's speaking. Nobody is talking. Nobody's talking. We don't have no leaders. They saw them bullets flying. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Everybody loved to live, but nobody's willing to stand and die for a principle that they believe in. And until we take that belief and make it faith, as the Germans say, and stand up and become upright, independent, and fearless, I'm talking about man, woman, and child. We have to start teaching our children from the cradle that they're not Negro, colored, black, or Ethiopian. We got to start teaching them that. We got to let them know they're Moors. And we're here in the foundation, that's all we teaching. And the one most important thing that we teach is you got to follow the constitutional law, because if you follow the constitutional law, you will know that within the law, you stand firm and you learn. One more. What is his nationality? We're talking about Noble Drew Ali, Moorish American. What is your nationality? Moorish American. Why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of the Moroccans and born in America. Simple. Why are you Moorish American? Because I'm a descendant of the Moroccans and born in America. And the Mo gave me a Dred Scott decision, and I went through it. That's the first one that I seen had all the sections, but most importantly, guess what it had in it? The word Moors. You ought to treat the subject Moors. They ain't doing that, because there's only one state I know that honored. A brother had a trial, and he went to appeals court and said that he didn't have a trial by a jury of his peers. And they asked him, what do you mean, a jury of your peers? He said, now one of them up there, Moorish American, they honored and overturned the case. They know. I had an old Mo tell me, he said, brothers and sisters, that European know every one of them up on the bar got a Quran, a questionnaire, a Moorish literature, because we want them to know our people, so that they will be just. But you can't go in there and look for mercy and justice if you're doing wrong and you're propagating right. So as time goes on, we begin to use our tools, our axe, and our hammer. We begin to pound in the truth. At the same time, we begin to cut away the unused and ungainly part of character to make ourselves symmetrical. Because it's going to come a time when we're going to be out front. So that's why we have to teach that nationality is the order of the day. It's the order of the day. And most of our papers got Negro, colored, or black on it. Negro, colored, or black on it. So what I ask Moors to do is get a Quran, get a questionnaire, get a Bible, start with them, and then start stretching out, listen to your historians, because if I'm going to give you the understanding what's truth and what's falsehood, because when truth is on the scene, falsehood flee. And there's no way in the world you can accept the fact that everywhere you go, you with a European, quote, white, they put out there now, I'm Italian, I'm Budapest, I'm Scandinavian, I'm this, etc., or I'm Egyptian, and you've been here all these years and you still a Negro, colored, and a black? No. We got to start accepting the fact and finding out for ourselves who we are, where we're from, and be blessed. That if you got someone that knows that's willing to teach you, I'm not telling nobody, lead the church. If you're in the church, I want you to lead the church because you find out that the truth of the matter is the church ain't teaching you what it's supposed to teach you. Because the church don't teach you about internal spirituality. They can't teach you that. If you remember, about 5 years ago, this gay guy had a church and he told the people, you don't need no priest, you don't need nobody to tell you how to get there. Whole church tore down, the gay people brought it back up. Because they don't want you to know you can go within. They don't want you to know that you can resurrect here. Because it hurts their business. And what is the business of man? Reflection is the business of man. And reflect on what? Who our God is and our nationality. Our spirituality and our nationality is most important. It don't mean nothing about being a sheik, a chairman, a divine minister. You earn those degrees. And that's what we have to do. We have to try to, everywhere we go, on every span of ground, we got to propagate and extend the faith of Ali here in America, that our brothers and sisters, whether they accept it or not, will at least have the basis to think about it. Because thought is the cause of it all, is it not? One more and I'm gone. How did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. What is our religion? Islamism. Islamism is a way of life. We ain't talking about religion. Is a realignment, and we study Islamism because it's our way of life. And that's the way of life we choose to live. And if you find that if you stand on the 7 and live through the Islam, you'll find your life is much, much better. With that, I say peace and love. And call the chairman back to the podium.
Once again, our grand sheik on this location, Brother COOLEY-EL, gave us a lot of information to absorb. If you want to find it to be the truth, kept saying, study. Get past belief. Get a little deeper. That's all it takes. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today here at Sunday School at the Noble Drew Foundation. Life can't get nothing but better. There's no announcements. Hope to see y'all this Friday at our Friday Holy Day service. I'll now read the warning.
8 to 9:30.
8 to 9:30.
Am I right?
8 to 9.
8 to 9.
Salam.
Islam.
Prophet warns all Muslims, governor, order read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical or agitating speeches while at work, at their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans and causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequences. We are for love, truth, peace, and freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card, button, cease wearing terminal affairs, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, the Drali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet in the temple. This is the everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sins by order of Prophet Drali. Islam.
Islam.
All rise. Those who wish to join us in prayer may do so. If you do not, just remain silent. 5 fingers on the left, 2 on the right, face the east, feet in a 45-degree angle. Repeat after the grand sheet of the Moorish prayer.
Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the
the
universe,
Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
Father of love,
truth, peace,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation
and my salvation
by night
by night
and by day
and by day
through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drali,
Drali.
Islam.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam is